Right then, Manchester United against Newcastle, and there is some serious jeopardy, and I'm going to get into the serious jeopardy about this game in just a second. But in the middle of researching this, we found out there is a very, very interesting stat. Did you know that Newcastle's games in the Premier League have, on average, been 98 minutes and 59 seconds long? It's the third highest in the league. However, the ball has been in play on average for just 51 minutes and 41 seconds, which is the lowest in the league, making Newcastle the most frustrating team to play against. Right then, so the jeopardy in this game, right, here's the headline. Manchester United could be fifth come Monday. This game is huge. This game is integral to what happens. United and Newcastle are level on games played. If they beat us, they go above us. They currently sit in fifth after having a little bit of poor form recently. They have won back-to-back games. It's the game before this that they won in the Premier League, because they've had a few cup games and that, wasn't till mid-January. That was the last time that they won a game, apart from these two weekends. Mid-January. And the time before that was Boxing Day. They've really fell off what was extremely strong form. January and February was not good for them. But Tottenham, despite being poor and despite getting rid of Conte, are right in the mix. They go to Goodison on Monday night, and if United lose to Newcastle, we will be looking up at Newcastle and Spurs come Monday. Now, of course, there's still a lot of football to play. Unless you speak to Arsenal fans, they think it's done and dusted, and I can't wait for that to go west. But United could be fifth. You know, they've got... We would all have games in hand on Spurs. United and Newcastle played the same, but it's worrying because games in hand don't mean points in the bag. They really don't. You know, you can definitely lose games in hand. They're not all gimmies. They're not all just guaranteed wins. Right, we're going to do the good and the bad with what's going on with Newcastle at the moment. The good, Newcastle are winless in their last 6 Premier League games against United with 2 draws and 4 defeats. The bad, coming into this weekend's fixtures, only Bournemouth, Forest and Leicester have conceded more away goals in the Premier League this season than United. And the Isak scored 6 in 10 Premier League appearances for Newcastle this season, including 3 in his last 2. He's just become the 3rd Swedish player to score in 3 consecutive Premier League appearances after Freddie Ljungberg and Zlatan Ibrahimovic. He had 2 runs of 3 in 2016. Now, how do they play? This is the 3rd time we played Newcastle, and I think we've tactically got them nailed on. We know exactly how they're going to play. Their philosophy and their tactics have remained very constant, apart from changes in personnel. So for those who haven't seen this, this is how they are going to line up and how they are going to play against us. Eddie Howe this season has opted for a 4-3-3 formation, and he's adjusted this system to kind of get the most out of their new additions and allowing them to keep the ball for slightly longer spells. With Trippier being an ever-present at right back, Burn often slotting in at left back, they've shifted into a 3-4-3 shape, pretty much alleviating Kieran Trippier from doing any defensive work whatsoever. He just becomes like a playmaker on the right flank. Simple as that. He sits extremely high, as high as a right winger has been during sustained periods of attack. Almiron's understanding of his role has improved a lot as well, and he's becoming really adept at making out-to-in runs, usually off the back of a 1-2, linking up with him really well. And that means that a lot of Newcastle's passing and attack in the final third comes down that right flank. And that's because Trippier's quality and Almiron's running off the ball is very, very good. You've also got Bruno's tendency to drift towards that side. However, Almiron is out injured and he won't be playing, so it'll be somebody else new coming into that position. His tendency to do so is increased when Longstaff is in the side as well, because he sort of positionally interchanges with Bruno in the number 6, but obviously is a lot more defensive man. I think Bruno's an excellent player, a real excellent player. Joe Linton plays a very, very interesting role. He's excelled ever since changing from being like, let's be honest, a shit striker. He's now like a very, very dynamic box-to-box midfielder, and it suits him down to the ground. Burns sometimes tucks in as a left centre half, obviously covering Trippier as he pushes up the pitch. Joe Linton shares the role of drifting to that left touch line. He gets involved on the left-hand side, building up with Alan St-Maxim before moving into the sort of number 8 role when they've got any sort of sustained possession. Joe Linton and Willock usually look for underlaps. They hold their width with either St-Maxim and Trippier, and then they look for underlapping runs on the sort of inside. And that really sort of starts to open teams up. The athleticism that them two have got really causes problems for opposition, and they're luckily both a bit touch and go fitness-wise for this weekend, which might mean a bit of a reduction in the quality that Newcastle are able to play. St-Maxim's maintained a similar role to what he had last season whenever he's been in the side. Joe Linton covers for him defensively and will look to drag teams towards the right-hand side in sustained possession to create as much space as possible for St-Maxim when they do move the ball. So a little bit of a rondo and switch, good tactic. Stack all people into one side and then a quick switch of play over to the quick creative player where he can be in space and he can be effective. Out of possession, Newcastle are quite aggressive. They are front foot, high press, and we're going to have to be really efficient on the ball to match their tempo and energy. And that has sort of guided my team selection a little bit. And I'll get into that after Newcastle. So for Newcastle, Karius, Trippier, Schär, Botman and Byrne, Longstaff, Bruno Guimaraes, Joe Linton, Isaac Wilson, St-Maxim. It is a strong 11. It's not an unbeatable 11, and it's a team that United should go and try and take on. Our away form does worry me, but this would be an excellent result if United could go there and get 3 points. And I don't think we should be going there looking to get a draw. I think we should go there and look to try and beat them. Right then, if you are like me, if you are like me and you like a beer and you're a staunch, militant Mancunian, then have I got a little treat for you guys. Now, I'm always on the lookout for new and exciting beers, and Beer 52 has got us absolutely covered. Always got exciting stuff coming through. They have 8 hand-picked beers that come to you every month from breweries all over the world. This box, particular, has got Cloudwater. That's nice. It's got Seven Brothers. And it's got Manchester Union. What's the theme on this one, Steve? The theme on this one is Manchester. And it's even got a nice little book which explains where all these beers have come from in this particular box. So you're not getting your average run-of-the-mill supermarket brand lagers. We're talking unique, experimental flavors that are going to make your taste buds tingle every single sip that you have. You wouldn't have got me going for something peach flavored in a lager, but that's absolutely banging. The magazine's good. It's got all sorts of interviews and stuff, especially if you like, this one's all about Manchester. So it's an interesting read for me because I like to know what's going on. I like to support the local businesses. And if you want to take your beer education to the next level, they've also got the Beer 52 app. They've got videos, they've got podcasts, they've got all sorts of tasting notes on there. You can become a certified beer connoisseur in absolutely no time. This is Cloudwater Fuzzy, hazy pale, peachy flavour. That's good, man. I like that. Definitely not the sort of thing that you're going to get down a boozer. Listen, Beer 52 are offering you a free case of the Manchester box. So you can have a go of all of that and more, because there's 8 in there, for free. All they want is the shipping covering, and the shipping is $5.95. Trust me, it's absolutely worth it. Head over to beer52.com/Howson. That's the beer52.com. Free case now. Link in the description. You might just discover your new favourite beer. Check it out. There's even got bar snacks and stuff in there as well. It's absolutely worth it. Go check it. United 11. I've mixed it up a little bit and I've gone quite attacking. I've gone quite attacking because I think we are capable of keeping Newcastle quiet. but they're also capable of keeping us quiet. And I see a 0-0 unless United do something quite courageous in this. So I've gone with a very attacking team, and I'm going to look for my back four to sort of try and manage the opposition in a big way. Big Dave in net, Wan-Bissaka to try and deal with St. Maxim, 1v1, because I think he's the best tool for that job. Varane, Martinez and Shaw rounding out the back four. Sabitzer, who will be absolutely key, and I'll explain why properly in a bit. And defensively, Sabitzer's stats have been quite surprising in terms of just how genuinely top that they are. Bruno alongside him in the six. When Bruno's been played in the six, we've only seen flashes of it so far. His ball retention is miles better. He isn't looking to do the crazy sort of stuff in that area. He actually looks after the ball really well, and he will progress the ball forward. Then I've gone with runners. Because Newcastle is quite a big defence, I want to run at them. So that's Rashford, Sancho, Anthony, with Weghorst up front. Now, having Weghorst up front allows us to rotate. You might see Sancho down the centre. You might see Anthony down the centre. You might see Marcus down the centre. That forward four could literally play in almost every single one of the other positions on that. Yeah? So maybe wouldn't play with Weghorst on the wing, but the rest of them could pretty much play left wing, right wing, 10 or up front. And that gives United a lot of flexibility and a lot of power. Now, the reason for Sabitzer being very, very key to this is, like I said, his defensive output has been superb. He's been absolutely superb. And it's more than I expected from him. I thought he was way more of an Eriksen style playmaker, but his defensive stuff has been brilliant, and he's got a real sort of solid nature to him that I think has to bring him in into the team no matter what. And hopefully he's over the injury which he picked up over the weekend. Now, you're going to have our midfield outdo theirs, and theirs is a bloody good midfield. The tenacity and defensive solidity, if Casemiro plays, is absolutely there, and you're going to need to take Bruno Guimaraes out of the game. So it's got to be Sabitzer and it's got to be Bruno. Bruno comes and brings the sort of energy you get from Fred, and Sabitzer comes in with the sort of defensive numbers you get from Casemiro. Now, that's what I think United are going to need in this midfield. Sabitzer brings a little bit of class in possession, and because of how high and how intense Newcastle's press is, United needs somebody reliable. If his knee injury is worse than we anticipate it being, and McTominay has to start, from a defensive point of view in terms of keeping them quiet, I think McTominay can do the job. In terms of progressing the ball through that midfield, through that high press, I worry that Scott McTominay is able to do that. Do that to the level and the standard that we need it to be done. So I would go with Sabitzer and Bruno. You might even see Sabitzer and McTominay if he doesn't want to bring Bruno further back, but I would go with something along those lines, and I would look to try and do that. But the biggest thing that they have to do to be able to beat them is limit the turnovers. You turn over the ball high up the pitch, it's an absolute recipe for disaster. How efficient we are playing out from the back will be how likely we are to win the game. If we're very good at it, then we'll be very good chance to win the game. If we're poor at it and we turn the ball over in those areas, that will be how we lose the game. Newcastle can be explosive, and they can build up a real head of steam if you make the game too open and transitional, and I think that'll suit them. United want to go and control this and squeeze it. More anaconda than hand grenade is how I would say I want this to go. The left channel is going to be extremely important. I thought Marcus kind of made Trippier's life very hard for him. And he's one of their most dangerous players. So you take him out of the game a little bit. You drop his start position further back than he wants it to be. And you can alleviate some of what they can do in the final third. So you got to put Marcus right on his toes, and you got to make him work defensively, because it isn't the strongest point of his game. He's got excellent delivery, but defensively, he's going to struggle with Marcus. You then got to look to try and isolate Shah, because he's the weak link then in that defence. So you want someone maybe running off him. You want to use him to base the link up around. You want a 2v1 either side of him and make him choose. you really want to pick on him a little bit. And I think United are going to get a lot more success on him than you would on the Botman Burn side, because I think actually they're quite solid. And this might be the sort of game where you ask Anthony just to sort of be a bounce pass, hold his position over there, keep them occupied, but we're not really going to try and create down his side. We're going to try and create down the other side a little bit. And then finally, physicality. You've got to be physical. They have a significant advantage from set pieces, not least because Trippier's delivery is sensational, but because they've just got absolute units. They are a strong physical side. You've got to match them in the air. Second balls, loose balls, or you're going to be in for a long day. They actually put us under a little bit of pressure in the EFL Cup final with some of that, but obviously we overcame it and managed to get the win, and it almost was easy in the end. You've got to take your chances. Newcastle are very good defensively, so if you get any opportunities, you've got to stick them away. And you can't give Newcastle any sort of confidence or momentum now because they've had a downturn in form. If they bounce it back by beating United at home, that might be enough to keep them into the top four. You don't know what the new manager bounce is going to be for Spurs. If they get in the top four, could they hold on to the top four? It's going to be an absolute battle to finish inside the top four, and United have to finish. For the progress of where we want to be going forward, it's unacceptable for United to finish fifth or below. So we've got to make sure we're going there, and at worst case, picking up a draw, but we really should be going for the win. Let me know in the comments, how do you see this going? Give us your score predictions, all that good stuff. I'll see you in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.